Hey, it's your Pan African World Diaspora Champion, Trish Adora, and you are watching O Face Wrestling.
Hey guys, it's your girl Red Velvet, and you are watching O Face Wrestling.
Hola todos, soy la fashionista Roche Chanel, and you're watching O Face Wrestling. Smooches!
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today on O Face Wrestling. This is your host JT, and today I'm joined by Karen BamBam. So thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. How y'all doing?
Absolutely. So I'm really excited to have you on the show. I saw you wrestle live back in July at Goddesses of War. So you are actually one of the few wrestlers that I've had on the show that I've gotten to see live. So I think that's really exciting. Um, so yeah, let's get this started. So speaking of that, I wanted to ask you about, the Goddesses Award. I feel like there's not like a crazy amount of promotions out there that do like all women events. So tell me a little bit about your experience working with them, and then just in general, like how much does it mean to you, like that there's promotions out there that fully focus on women's wrestling like they did?
Well, last year I only got to do one because I had to defend my Texas Strength Championship on the same day, so I was only able to make it the one time. But I do appreciate that they are centering women's wrestling because we talk about all this women's revolution and things are different, but in some ways, like women's wrestling still kind of gets treated like a niche thing, or like there's some promotions that still don't have it. So like for any promotion to make a point to have a full women's roster and definitely like focus on women's wrestling, that's always great because I did the year before WSU. I was working a lot with them, which is another all women's promotion, so it's definitely fun for me because I also do like a heavy amount of intergender wrestling, so it's always like refreshing to get to wrestle with the women more.
Yeah, like that's like the cool thing, because like you mentioned, like unfortunately not every promotion, puts enough time with the women. And we're in the era where fans want women's wrestling. Like it's made a lot of breaking ground, like their main event in WrestleMania now, and stuff like this. And I don't know how the indies were like 10 years ago, but like the fact that we have like all women's wrestling, like Titan Championship Wrestling does it with Goddesses of War, Mission Pro Wrestling, they're all women's now, because at one point they kind of were a little bit of both. um so yeah, it's getting more popular, but I wish that it was, I wish, all the women wrestlers, got more than what they're getting, because you all deserve it just as much as the men. And like I said, it's what the fans want, and we are in that era. So I think, in time we're going to start seeing more. So I think like companies like, Titans, I think they're gonna, kind of like they're helping, get it where it needs to be, and hopefully other promotions start seeing this as well, and they start kind of going with the trend, because I feel like, you all deserve it. And so yeah, usually I save this for the first question, but I felt like it was necessary to talk about the Goddess of War first, just because I had mentioned it in the intro. So what inspired you to become a professional wrestler?
For me, it was very different from most people because, a lot of people say, oh, like I knew since I was a kid and this, that. And as a kid, I wasn't like, much of a dreamer, honestly, which sounds kind of sad, but like, I just wasn't like that kind of kid. I was just more like, whatever was like or felt within reach, because I mean, as a child, also like my confidence level wasn't high, so I wasn't going to really think that I was going to even be able to do it at the time. But like as I grew up and got older, and I kind of took a break from watching as a teen. But when me and my brother got back into it, it's just like a spark came, and like something really connected and told me like to reach for it. So, I just got online, researched the local schools. I called Johnny Rods, my trainer, and something just clicked and it connected, and I just went over there and started, the next weekend after one of their shows that I went to.
So as far as like the training and all, was it what you expected when you first got into it?
I didn't know what to expect, honestly. And I'm glad I didn't have any kind of expectation because I mean, that first day and all I was doing was like just, rolling. I was hurt. Like, I was just getting into, shape and stuff. I've been active for the most part, but I was just focusing on it. So I wasn't like in the shape that I am in now as a person that works out like 6 days a week and is very active. So, there was a lot of difficulty to it, but I never had any doubt through it. And, I just kept coming and improving. And once I debuted, everything just started clicking together and coming up. So, yeah.
Because that's the thing, like a lot of people say, when just like the little things hurt like hell, like just running the ropes, like little things like that, like bruise up your body and stuff like that, like, and it's very tough to get into. I feel like it also depends on the area you live at as well, because some people may not have a school within a reasonable distance. Some people have to commute and drive out of
Yeah.
state, do a few hours, stuff like that. And in the training, like it is pretty intense. Like I've heard stories, from a lot of wrestlers that I've had on the show, like they're vomiting at the end of the training day and stuff like that. Like it sounds like boot camp. And I feel like, when I saw the movie about Paige fighting with my family, I think that's what it's called. I thought they were kind of exaggerating the training process when she was like in the NXT training, and then after I hear all these stories, I'm like, that sounds pretty similar. Like, wrestling it's a lot. And
I mean, it's really hard on your body. So it's not to torment you, and some people feel like that. It's like it's to prepare you because you go on TV and you watch people doing these cage matches and Iron Man matches. It's not easy to do that. Your body has to be prepared for it, and it takes a toll on like your central nervous system. Because even in quarantine, like being away from training because it's literally closed, we're in a pandemic, and coming back like things that were nothing to my body. I'm like, whoa, like my body's like, wait, what do you think you're doing? Like, I feel good now. Why are you doing this? But, it's really hard on you. So, and I'm grateful that I'm in like a central area where I can take the train to so many places because I talk to a lot of younger girls and they're like, I don't know where to train and there's nothing near me. And the closest thing is 4 hours away. And I was able to hop on a train and go train with, a WWE Hall of Famer, to get myself started. So I'm always thankful for that.
yeah, that's always a good thing, is training from someone who, I mean, I would have to assume most training schools, the head trainer, whatever, was a professional wrestler in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, being a WWE Hall of Famer is, pretty cool as well, because, they could teach you stuff that, some people might not be able to teach you because they were on the grand stage. And, because wrestling is not just, wrestling, it's also like it's entertainment, it's, the characters, the promos, stuff like that. And, that's something that you learn a lot in WWE because, they're really big on, the all around kind of skill set kind of thing. So, speaking of like the characters and all that kind of stuff, so tell me a little bit about your character and, what inspired your character and, the name Karen BamBam. Like, I'm really excited to learn about that.
Honestly, the name Karen BamBam came from my trainer. Just I was sitting in the office talking to him, and he's like, "You're Bam Bam. That's you. That's your name." And so it just kind of stuck, 'Cause most people have something in mind, and they're like, "I want to be this when I get in the ring." And I came in with no expectations. I'm like, I am just in the present of the journey. I'm enjoying it. I'm seeing what comes up. And honestly, it just works for me. And my character is just really just me. Like, I'm naturally just very fun, very flamboyant, very out there. I'm just doing me. I'm the center of attention. I'm the star of the show. I'm confident in myself and my abilities. And I just like to kick ass and have fun and make sure the crowd's having fun with it. So, I also go by, Chocolate Thunder as an alias, the Squish-a-Vish Express, because I do a lot of I squish wishes, I do my bonsai drop, my cedar sometimes and things like that. So Excuse me. I think my phone's going off, but I'll ignore that.
Yeah, I've heard like kind of like 50-50 when it comes like to the characters. I've heard people say, hey, like, my trainer or this promotion I was working with said they needed this kind of character and they asked if I could do it and I just roll with it. Then there's the people who always kind of had the character in their head, and it's usually who they are, just, like they like to say like it's like a times like 100 or something like that. So, and I think that's like really cool, and that's like the really great thing about like the indies is you can like be whoever you want to be. You're not like being controlled by any particular company and them telling you kind of like what you have to do. Like even if you do get like a recommendation from like a trainer or promotion, you could still go elsewhere and be whoever you want. And I always think that's like the best thing about the indies because you all are being yourselves, and obviously doing that you're having fun and you're enjoying it. That makes the show even more fun, for us fans. Just seeing you all out there having fun at the end of the day.
And that's awesome, because there's so many different audiences. Like, I can understand why a company is going to give you direction because they have a certain audience that they try to appeal to, but you get to kind of expand who you're connecting with. And so you get to see so many interesting characters that you may not see on, TV or on certain companies because it may not work for them. It makes sense for them, but there's so many people that love it anyway. So I think that's dope. You can find kind of what works for you and, find your tribe and, who's going to be able to showcase what you can do.
Exactly, because some people, they don't really realize like these companies, they have, audiences and they need to satisfy their audience. And, WWE as the perfect example, they have millions of people who watch their product and they all want something different. So they try to find a little bit of something for everyone. And, it's obviously normal for a fan to, to want something and not be happy when they don't get it. I've been there plenty of times, like, why aren't they giving me what they want? Why isn't so-and-so the champion? So I get it. Character wise, and you do see a lot more on the indies and you do see stuff that you wouldn't see on mainstream TV. And that's what I love about it because I have my tastes of what I like, and you don't just always see that on TV. Like I have a thing for like wrestlers who have like demonic characters. You don't really see that in WWE that much anymore. I mean, you see Bray Wyatt, and that's kind of like, I love the scary, creepy, kind of people, and that's just me being a big horror movie fan. But you do see a lot of that on the indies and on. Speaking of those kind of characters, I know you've had, I don't know how many matches, but I know you've like competed against Anastasia Morningstar. She has that kind of character. So being in the ring with someone like that, is it a little intimidating, or is it just kind of like another day, another match?
It's a little bit of both because it's like, for me, I'm gonna fight anybody. Like, I've been in the ring with dudes that are like 400 pounds and 6 something. I've been in the ring with, people that could really go, and I got black belts and stuff. Like, you come into stuff every day, but that's something that's just so off the wall. So it's kind of just like, you don't know what kind of stuff they gonna do, what kind of weirdness is gonna come out. You gonna get misted, you gonna get fired and that. I'm like, oh God. But it's definitely fun and interesting when it's someone that's just very otherworldly.
Because like I'm not gonna lie, like as many interviews I've done probably like close to 50 different women on the show, and I've had Anastasia on the show. I've had another wrestler, like her name's Scarlett. I was kind of scared. I was kind of intimidated. Like I still to this day, like I want Mother Endless on my show, but I'm scared. Just seeing her live, I'm a little intimidated, like because I'm just not good at interacting with people who are like talking to you like in a demonic, like creepy way and all this kind of stuff. As much as like I said, I love horror movies, it is intimidating for me. And I can just imagine being in the ring face to face with people like that. Like, gotta be a little scary, even though I'm sure when you go behind the stage and all, they're probably themselves and stuff like that, but still just like
I feel you because I love horror movies too, but when I play horror games, it's like something different. I watch it like every day, but like when you're in it, it's different.
Yeah, so. Like I like Resident Evil 7 or Biohazard or whatever you want to go by. I had the VR for the PS4, and that game is VR compatible, and that was scary. Like I did not expect it to be like. It just felt so real.
Yeah, I
And
ain't touching that.
yeah,
I play it
it's not for
regular.
it's
I
not
play
for
it.
everyone, but I know, like, speaking of video games, we might as well, touch on that subject. So you had mentioned prior to recording that you were, up late playing video games. So tell me a little bit about some of your favorite video games that you enjoy playing.
Well, I when I grew up playing like Diablo and Final Fantasy, so I'm more of like an RPG kind of person. Like Final Fantasy is my thing, but in this pandemic with me sitting at home, I've kind of just been playing more games. So, I've been trying to get into the Resident Evil series because I'm more the person with horror games. I watch somebody play and I'll know the storyline and the lore and all of that. But me, I'm shaky with that because then I get panicky. But I picked up the 2 and 3 remake, played a little bit of 7 and stuff like that, and playing Borderlands with my homegirl. So I've just been playing different like games and stuff like that, like just trying to expand my reach. And also like when I get a chance, I don't have a Switch, but Smash Bros and Mario Party's definitely like me and my brother and my cousin's thing, or my best friend's thing when we get together. So.
I remember playing that when I was probably around middle school for the N64. That was probably around when I got out of Nintendo. Like after the 64, I just could not get into like the GameCube or the Wii or anything like that. But like Resident Evil, like you mentioned that, like that is probably my favorite gaming franchise of all time. I didn't get into it when they first came out because I was young, and of course, it was pretty scary. I did not like that kind of stuff growing up, but getting older, I love it. Like I got into it with Resident Evil 4, and ever since then, I was like, I love it. I was actually probably a year ago. I actually got like the platinum trophy on the PlayStation for Resident Evil 5, and it's like they're so fun. I'm excited for the new one that's supposed to be coming out in a few months. Resident Evil Village. That looks pretty
Yeah, I saw the
badass.
demo and all of me. It was so silly, but it's so interesting. I like that Romanian, like Victorian, and the graphics are crazy. Like
They
I
are.
got on to live in that little mansion because I'm like, you see all the plush, like little. I'm like, it's fab. Like besides the vampire trying to kill you or whatever.
Like, what do you think about like the new direction they've been going into? Like, it's now first person and it's like new characters basically. Like, it doesn't feel like it's Resident Evil anymore, but it still, technically is.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying it was taking like inspiration from like Outlast kind of energy and stuff like that and how they're doing. And like, I know, like, I feel like our generation is so like fan like crazy. And it's like, I get we want what we want and we're connected to it and it's so nostalgic, but people have to change stuff up. Like, they got to stay relevant, they got to keep stuff fresh. Like, so they got to try something new, because that first person's going to bring a different energy to it. And maybe introduce some other people that maybe they know about it but they were playing something else. Now they want to try it because they seeing something new and fresh. So
Exactly, because like they needed to do something different because a lot of people didn't like 5 or 6, and I guess they felt the need to kind of go back into the survival horror, genre kind of style versus like it was getting very heavy with the action and stuff like that. So I understand. The ending to the 6th one, they all had feel good, happy endings. I just miss like the Leon and Claire and stuff like that. All the old school characters. I mean, I know Chris Redfield, appears in 7. I don't know if he's gonna be an 8, but like he didn't even look nothing like he did in the other games too. I know people were complaining about that, but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm hoping to get it for the PS5. That system's impossible to get right now.
yeah, I gotta see. I don't know. It's only gonna be PS5 exclusive, or
It's both PS4 and 5. I
okay.
would rather get it for the 5 and play that, but it's
Yeah.
just I've never seen a system, still like 3 months later impossible to get. I was able to get the PS4 like a month after it came out without much problem.
Because we in stimmy season, everybody got that extra money, so
That too,
they're gonna
yeah.
splurge.
Yeah, I
Me, I'm
guess
gonna stay with my 4 for a little longer.
yeah, that's the good thing about PlayStation. The lifespan for their systems, they still take care of the previous system when a new one comes out. Like, basically they're still gonna be running like the online and all for it for like another 2 to 3 years, and a lot of games for the next year or two are probably gonna be for both. So that's at least a good thing about it.
Yeah, I'm glad.
So now going back to wrestling, so who have been some of your favorite opponents that you've been in the ring with so far, and also some of your proudest moments in your career?
For me, my proudest moment was winning the Texas Strength Championship and being the first woman to do it. Um, I tend to be in this position where I'm coming into promotions that don't have women's wrestling, or usually I'm a lot of times, the main woman that's there frequently or wrestling all the time. And, for me, just to kind of break that ground is so cool. Being in the main event, me and Anastasia Morningstar were in the main event for Bronx Wrestling Federation, and that's a proud moment, because you don't see that as often when it's like at least a mixed card and not just a women's wrestling show. And so to get people so involved in that and so invested in it that we could get to that level, that's a proud moment for me. um, and favorite opponents, I would say I tend to wrestle a lot with Anastasia Morningstar and Vicious Vicky. For some reason, like we just have like a certain kind of chemistry and we're able to tell certain stories with, just like our energies being opposed in certain ways. For some reason, like people just eat that up. So it's like, that's pretty cool. And yeah, honestly, like, and it's so hard to recall because I feel like so scatterbrained because, I'm not wrestling every weekend, like 3-4 times a week like I used to. It's kind of like, a few times a month, once or twice. So it's like, what have I done? But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to wrestling basically everybody that I have not had a chance to be in the ring with yet.
Who would you say is your number one on your list that you stepped in the ring with?
That's kind of difficult to say. Because there's no one that I'm like, it has to be that person. I just really want to fight like everybody. But
What about WWE? If they signed you just like a 1-day deal and you got your pick out of that whole entire roster, who would you go against?
I think probably Asuka or Charlotte would be cool.
I always hear Charlotte's name. It seems like everyone, wants a piece of her, and I mean, she's a Flair. She seems to have
Yeah.
chemistry with almost anyone. Like, you don't really see that. Like when you
Right.
see a wrestler who can just go out with anyone and just, kill it. Like I know Sasha's the same way, but some people they only vibe with certain wrestlers. But Charlotte can do it with anyone. Same thing with Sasha.
Yeah, and that's what it's about, and that's the aim, You got to be able to go with anybody to be the top. So a lot of people, she may not be their favorite, but you have to respect that about her,
Oh yeah,
regardless.
absolutely. Like, cause at the people obviously get really irritated when she's always in the title picture, always holding the title. But you have to, at the end of the day, regardless of how you feel about that, she's good. Okay, and you could also say, oh well, she's a Flair, this and that. She's good. She came in and she kills it. You know, and she can really go out there and just perform and do 5-star matches all the time. She's extremely athletic, exciting, a hard worker. Like she's earned everything that she's gotten. I just feel like she'll always, because of the fact that she's a Flair, there'll always be that, oh well, if she wasn't a Flair, what would she have done kind of thing from people. But she's great, and I understand why people would want to fight her. So now my final question. So you being a wrestler and obviously you go to events, there's fans who want to meet you, take pictures with you, get 8x10s and stuff like that. How does it feel just like having people that you don't even know and people that you never even met just like want to meet you so bad and like I said, take pictures and stuff like that? Like, how does it feel kind of like being semi-famous, or however you want to put it?
It's very interesting and surreal, because I mean, for me coming in, I'm not, anybody. I'm not, a second gen or something that people are watching and they're like, oh, are they going to wrestle? No, I'm just a person off the street. So, for me to catch anyone's eye or to inspire anyone enough that they're like, okay, I want to wear that shirt and I want to represent, what you stand for, and I want to buy your picture because, hey, maybe you will, be on TV one day, and to say I have it, like just anyone's belief enough into invest in your brand and what you're bringing to the table, honestly, is a blessing. And, I don't feel weird about it at all. I love taking pictures with people, and I love, like, just sharing what I do in any way possible. So it's definitely dope. Like,
Yeah, and because like for me, like as a fan, like it's like a fantastic moment. Like when you sitting there at the stand, you're watching your favorite wrestlers wrestle, and then you get to go there and meet them, and have a conversation. Like it's a great feeling. It's it's that like feel good moment. Like wow, I met so and so, and it's like it really means a lot for us, and it really adds to the experience of going to the wrestling events, because it's more than just watching wrestlers wrestle. It's getting to meet them and engage with them and stuff like that. That's also plays a big role, and that's actually why I got really big into the indies, because I went to an MCW event. I met some of the wrestlers, and some of these wrestlers weren't even like selling merch. They were just walking around chatting, and I was like wow, because you don't get that in WWE. You don't see Becky Lynch walking around before the show just, chatting with all the fans. And you can't, because obviously they're going to get swarmed, but you get a completely different experience in the indies that you won't get elsewhere. And as a fan, it's like, it's very fulfilling and it's very exciting. Like going to these events, knowing that you're going to get to see so-and-so. And it just really like, it makes our day at the end of the day.
yeah, and I'm glad that people have that experience, and it is different. And there's still a lot of people that'll go to, like, WWE event, but they still have yet to go to their local independent. So I hope to see more people take advantage of that experience, because it is still very fun and such a great and different experience that and I'm grateful that people want to even talk. Like some people are like, I don't want nobody to talk to me. I want to take pictures. No, if nobody wants to talk to you or take pictures, then you wouldn't have a job. You wouldn't have nothing to do. So
Yeah, that's like one of the things I, try to do, because I do have a lot of friends who, primarily watch WWE, and I've gotten some of them into like becoming really big fans of some of the indie wrestlers. After they see them on my show, they're like, "Oh, this wrestler's really cool," and then once you know it, I see them like posting a picture. "Oh, I bought so and so shirt," and all that kind of stuff. Obviously with the pandemic, it's a little bit harder because not all areas are doing wrestling. Like I live in Maryland. There has been no wrestling in Maryland for almost a year now. Like I've had to travel to like Jersey to, watch wrestling. So hopefully once when COVID,
yeah,
goes down, it can open up the opportunity for fans to start going to these indie events, because a lot of people just don't know about the experience, and they don't even know that there's always a promotion near them. I didn't know there was all these promotions in my area. I thought MCW was the only one anywhere near, and then I started like, oh, there's all these in DC. They got them in Jersey, Delaware, PA. They're all over the place. And like I said, people just don't know, and that and I'm hoping that like with my show I can open up people's eyes, and they can see, oh well, hey, this wrestler that I really like, they do wrestle near me, and so and so. So we'll see, but yeah, I'm definitely I've been introducing a lot of of my friends to like the indie wrestlers, and they're starting to become fans. So I think that's pretty cool.
yeah, hopefully more. And we keep bringing things up and stuff like that. Because I miss wrestling in front of a crowd. Like, all these empty arena tapings are cool, but like,
It's not the same as
yeah, no. It took a while to get used to. Now you got to get used to like a crowd being there again.
I know that's what I say all the time. Like it's gonna be so weird when we start seeing like wrestling and there are a full crowd on TV and stuff like that, and we don't have to wear face masks and stuff like that. I can't say when everything will get back to normal because we don't really know. I'm fearing that it's probably going to be until like next year. The way the vaccine's going out, it's taken them forever to like distribute that out to a lot of people, and that's going to be the big factors. Once when they start passing it out to the general public, which I heard might not be until like the summertime.
Yeah, but for me, I don't have as much exposure. I want to get it, but it's like at least I'm lucky enough not to be on the front lines and stuff like that. So I know they need it more because they're, in contact with the general public and stuff like that to work. So, But I hope things work out with it. You know, I've been hearing good things from people who have gotten it personally. So, and I know some people don't intend on getting it, and that's fine. That's a personal choice. I'm not going to try to pressure nobody to do it. It's your body. If you don't get it and you don't get sick, that's fine. If you don't get it and you do, you know, we all got to make our own choice. So it's what it is.
Exactly. I don't plan on getting it, but that's just because it, it's more so like I feel like the people who are like older or have health problems are the people who really need to get it. Like, if you're young and healthy, usually, you're fine. But like I said, some people they just want to get it just to be safe because you really never know with COVID, and how it affects everyone differently. I've heard people they just lose their taste, and some people they're in the hospital, So I'm confident in my immune system, but I respect for people who do want to get it and who don't want to get it.
Yeah, being around lots of crowds of people and crowded locker rooms, I ain't taking my chance.
Yeah,
No,
it's
don't want to
totally
give a chance.
understandable. So, Karen, that wraps up our interview. I just have to say, thank you so much. This was a really fun interview, and of course, and I say this all the time. Anytime I can, get an opportunity to talk about video games with, any of y'all, it's definitely a win-win because I'm a big gamer, and I always geek out.
Yeah, it's fun to have, diverse topics like wrestling school. I love wrestling, but like, I love video games too, and music and
Yeah.
movies.
And I feel like it makes the interviews more interesting because people like to know more than just about their wrestling career of the
Yeah,
wrestlers and stuff like that. They like learning that kind of stuff too. So yeah, it's always fun.
yeah.
So do you want to let the listeners know where to find you on social media?
Yeah, so I have my YouTube. If you look up Karen BamBam, as well as a Facebook page. My Twitter and IG handles are Karen B Renee RENEE. No punctuation or anything, so you can find me both places. And yeah, got pro wrestling tees. So if you look up Karen BamBam, you can get my Squishabish Express tee. And yeah.
And I have all the links to all those the social medias and the the in your merch and all that in the bio below. Just make sure you all give us a sub on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you all so much for listening, and thank you again, Karen, for joining us today on O Face Wrestling.
Yes, thank you for having me.